Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you? May Allah Pak bless all of you. Ameen. Today's topic is law of supply, extension and contraction in supply. Law of supply. Law of supply expresses the relationship between the price of a commodity and quantity supplied. We express this relationship in the form of following statement also: other things remaining the same. By other things remaining the same, we mean to say that few variables we are assuming to be constant. If those variables remain constant, if those variables do not change, quantity supplied of a commodity increases with the rise in price and decreases with the fall in price. Here you can notice that positive relationship is shown between quantity supplied and price. Positive relationship means that both the variables move in the same direction. If one variable increases, other also increases. If one variable decreases, other also decreases. This is positive relationship. And here in prices and quantity supplied, positive relationship is shown. This positive relationship between price and quantity is due to the reason that higher the price, the greater will be the profit of sellers and the greater inducement for firms to produce more. When price increases, profit margin of a seller increases. This increase in profit margin induces a producer to produce more. He produces more to earn more profits. When he produces more, he supplies more into the market. So, price increases, supply of a commodity increases. Price decreases, supply of a commodity decreases. This is law of supply. Law of supply can be explained with the help of a schedule also. When we present the relationship between price and quantity supplied in the form of a table, that is known as supply schedule. Here you can see two columns are given. In first column, prices are given, and in second column, quantity supplied is given. Price is 40, quantity is 400. Price 60, quantity 600. Price 80, quantity 800. Price 100, quantity 1000. Price 120, quantity 1200. Here positive relationship is shown between price and quantity. Price increases, quantity supplied also increases. So we can say supply schedule is the statement of various quantities of a commodity offered for sale at different prices during given time period. Supply curve. When supply schedule is plotted in a graph, we get a supply curve. Here you can see in a graph, price is taken on y-axis, quantity supplied is taken on x-axis. Here when price is 40, quantity supplied is 400. Price is 60, quantity supplied is 600. Price increases to 80, quantity supplied increases to 800. Price increases to 100, quantity supplied increases to 1000. And when price is 120, quantity supplied is 1200. By joining these points, we get different combinations like A, B, C, D, and E. When we join these combinations, we get a straight line upward sloping. This straight line is known as supply curve. It indicates a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. Price increases, quantity supplied increases. Thus, Supply curve shows a relationship between prices of a good and the quantities which firms offer for sale at different prices. Assumptions. Law is based on following assumptions. Number one, cost of inputs does not change. In inputs, we include prices of raw materials, cost of transport, tax rate, wage bill, etc. Cost of inputs used to produce the product does not change. A change in cost of production affects profits of the sellers, so they may change the quantity offered for sale at the same price. Number two, production technology remains the same. Production technology remains the same. Improvement in technology may lower the cost of production and affect supply. If new technology reduces cost of production of televisions, their supply will increase without any change in a price. Floods, wars, etc. may affect supply. Even change of season affects supply. For example, change of season affects supply of agricultural goods. More quantity is offered for sale in harvesting season. So that's why we assume these variables to be constant. Number of sellers. If more sellers enter a market, more quantity comes for sale at existing prices. That is, supply increases. Law and order situation. Change in law and order situation affects the supply. For example, if law and order situation in a country gets worse, supply of a commodity in a country reduces or decreases. And lastly, future expectations. Expectations about future prices affect quantity supplied without change in price. These are the variables which we assume to be constant, or these are the assumptions of the law. If these variables remain constant, law will prevail, and law is when price increases, quantity supplied increases. When price decreases, quantity supplied decreases. Extension and contraction of supply. Supply of a commodity is influenced by a lot of factors such as price of a commodity, cost of production, technique of production, weather conditions, political situation, etc., etc. If any factor changes, the supply will be affected. But compared to other factors, changes in price of the commodity are more frequent and immediate cause of change in supply. So, we say that change in supply due to change in price is known as extension or contraction in supply. If price rises, more quantity is offered for sale. This is known as extension in supply. If price falls, less quantity is offered for sale. This is known as contraction in supply. Here you can see in a graph also, price is 6, quantity supplied is 100. Price increases to 8, quantity supply increases to 150. Here, because of change in price, quantity supplied increases from 100 to 150. This change is due to change in price, so we call this increase as extension in supply. Whenever there occurs a rise in supply due to change in price, that rise is known as extension in supply. In the same way, we explain contraction. When price is 8, quantity supplied is 150. When price decreases to 6, quantity supplied decreases to 100. There is a decrease in supply from 150 to 100, and this decrease is because of a change in price. So we can say When supply decreases because of a change in price, that is known as contraction. In case of extension and contraction, we move on the same graph. Or curve does not change its position. Movement on the same curve will be seen. Here you can see price is 6, quantity supplied is 100. Price is 8, quantity supplied is 150. So here, because of change in price, quantity supplied increases from 100 to 150. You can see here, we are moving on the same curve. We are moving from 100 to 150. Upward movement is known as extension in supply. In the same way, when price is 8, quantity supplied is 150. When price decreases to 6, quantity supplied decreases to 100. This decrease in supply is shown with a downward movement on a curve. Here you can see from 150 we are moving towards 100. This is a downward movement on the curve. Downward movement is known as contraction in supply. In case of extension and contraction, we move on the same curve. So, in extension and contraction, supply schedule and curve remain the same. Upward movement along supply curve indicates extension in supply, while downward movement shows contraction of supply. This is all about extension and contraction of supply. This is all for today, dear students. Till next lecture, take very good care of yourselves. May Allah Pak be with all of you. Ameen. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.